Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. It's Monday. I haven't put out a Monday, Tuesday, or even Wednesday video much recently, but I have a bunch of things that I want to get out. And this is today. I'm going to do an AMA. Ask me anything. I asked for AMA questions like 4 weeks ago. Started in my newsletter and then in a video like a week after that. So I have a bunch of questions here that I'm going to get through. What I'd like to do is like an AMA every month, but I'm not good at it. Like Greg of Midlife Cards does an amazing job with his AMAs. I'm not going to live up to that. If you're expecting that, go over to his channel. But I've got some great questions, and I'm going to go through them. And I'm going to start with Corey B. He says, I'll preface this to only apply to baseball, football, or basketball, since I don't think any of the cards on your obtainable list will apply to this question. What are the top 5 oddball cards you'd like to add to your collection? And he asks 2 questions. I'll get to the second part of it here in a moment. Top 5 oddball cards. I love oddball cards. And when I first started my channel, I was really into them. And then I've came to realize that there are way too many cards out there. And I have to narrow my focus. And so I kind of moved away from oddball cards for the most part. Now, there are a bunch of junk wax oddball cards that I'm very interested in. Namely, 1993... and this isn't really an oddball card, but 93 Topps Finest refractors of Roger Clemens and Andre Dawson. The last 2 I need for my Red Sox refractor set. So those are high on my list. Also, really any Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. I'm trying to collect all of them, and there are like, I don't know, 30 or 40 of them, and many of them are oddball cards. So like Mother's Cookies cards, and I can't remember off the top of my head what else. And I don't have any of the oddball cards. I have about, I don't know, maybe 10 regular issue cards. And some of them aren't insanely common, as the 89 Upper Deck is, but they're still plentiful. So I'd like to collect all of those. And I'm going to do a video pretty soon about how I'm moving to become slab gnostic, if you like a good portmanteau. So I'll talk about that at some point in the near future, about my move there. So yeah, not a lot of oddball cards for me, but definitely those ones. Like when I think about oddball cards, I think about food issue, vintage. I think about Venezuela cards. I think about like Milton Bradley. Those ones don't interest me. They're cool. I love seeing them in other people's collections, but they're not something that I need in my collection. And then Corey continues, do you have any Grail autos you're currently in the hunt for? Yes, there is one. I'm mostly the rookie Hall of Fame autos are mostly relatively affordable for me down into the 1970s. And I have a lot of them, but I'm still missing some. So when we talk about Grails, I guess the biggest one is probably David Ortiz, 97 Fleer. I don't remember which one it is. I'll put it up here on the screen. But that is one that I really want, and it's expensive when it's been authenticated. I was looking at one in a Becket slab, again, slab gnostic, at 199 bucks on eBay. I don't know. Right now I'm saving my money for the National, so I'm probably not going to spring for it. But we'll see. I said the same thing last year, and then I dropped 600 bucks on an Ernie Banks, not Eddie Banks, Ernie Banks rookie, which was from 1954. Somebody said I said 53. I was loaded with mistakes on that episode. I bought that from Tony from TJ's Online right before the National, and I was like, no. I'm saving my money for the National. But then I was thinking, this is the kind of card I would buy at the National, so I might as well buy this now, and I don't regret it. Jim Faulkner, great channel. Check out Jim Faulkner's channel. Anyway, I think if you just search for Jim Faulkner, you'll find. I'll put it up here. Jim Faulkner asks, what cards are you targeting to buy at the National this year? I'm looking for the early O-Pee-Chee Nolan Ryans. I'm also going to look for the 61 to 63 Topps Bob Gibson cards in SGC holders. And you can see he wrote, have a great vacation. That's how long ago this was. My vacation was like 4 weeks ago today, I think I started. What cards am I targeting at the National this year? I actually haven't decided yet. It depends on how much my budget is. I'm thinking if I can swing it, I would love to get a very low grade 53 Topps Mantle, 54 Topps Hank Aaron, or a bunch of smaller cards that kind of fill out my collection, like a Bruce Sutter rookie auto, type of things that aren't very expensive, but I could afford on my national budget. I could get a bunch of them. So do I want one big card and a few smaller cards, or do I want a lot of smaller cards? Undecided. I will let you know as soon as I have decided. David K. writes, Mike, do you have any hobby regrets, like a specific card you wish you had picked up in the past? This is a great question. I don't think I have any regrets. I gave this some thought, and every time, like the Ernie Banks rookie, for instance, where I thought, no, I'm not going to buy this, I've always said to myself, wait a second, you will regret not buying this. For instance, my Ken Griffey Jr. 89 Upper Deck autographed card, which was priced at $500, and I wanted to get down under $4 or something like this, and he would not come below $4, and I was at $375, and he was like, no, $400 flat, and I walked away, and then I was like, don't be an idiot, Mike. Go back. It's $25 on a pretty big, expensive card. So I went back and I bought it, and I try to not have those regrets. And I couldn't think of any time where I thought, man, I should have bought that card. There have been cards that have gotten away from me that I put a max bid in, trying to snipe, and couldn't get it. But for the most part, I'm good. If I put in my most and I say, this is the best I can do, I'm happy with not getting it. I'm not happy with not getting it, but I'm happy with my attempt at getting it, I should say. Another question from David K. If you were president of Topps, what would you do to build lifelong collectors? They don't even offer a sticker album these days. Beyond that, I think Topps should be selling their own licensed binders that kids can use to collect the flagship set each year. Maybe they could even offer a reward to kids who bring their completed Series 1 and Series 2 sets to a hobby shop. I love these ideas. I could never be the president of Topps because I would be focused far more on collectors and far less on making as much money as possible. And their job is to make as much money as possible. And man, they're killing it. They're killing it. And I don't like it. I wouldn't do it. It's not for me. These are great ideas. So I think you have to, like if Topps were to hire a chief collecting officer whose job is to focus on collectors, there would be a battle. There would be a heavy battle between Topps, the company, the president of the company, and this person, because it wouldn't be profitable enough. They wouldn't make enough money off of doing this type of thing that would bring in collectors. And if you think about it, I think I've talked about this before, I think about it in the same way with NBA games and Major League Baseball games. Playoff games start too late for kids to watch. And who's your future pipeline of fans and collectors? It's kids. And you should be catering to those kids in some ways by having afternoon games sometimes, or starting the games a little bit earlier. I know television wants to start them later because it benefits television, but Major League Baseball and the NBA should be saying, hold on, we need to have earlier games, maybe 7:30, 7 ideally, afternoon games occasionally, so kids can watch and enjoy this and we can get them into the sport. But they don't. And Topps is making the same exact mistake. They're catering to the existing group of people and not making really much of an effort to bring kids in. So I don't have a great answer for you. I gave this some thought, and I thought I'm just going to rant about what I think about the state of collecting for kids. Mikey G, Yankees fan. I know you're hesitant, but don't you think it's a good time for you to finally admit your Yankee fandom? We are all waiting to accept you with open arms. I love Aaron Judge. I think he is my first to second favorite. Shohei, Judge. I think Judge is right there with Shohei in terms of my favorite player in Major League Baseball outside of the Red Sox. And I might even like him better than I like most of the Red Sox. Not that I dislike the Red Sox, but they're just not very exciting right now. I'd love to be able to be there with, and I love Devers. Devers is definitely number one, but I'd love to be able to get there with Marcelo, with any of their young prospects. Roman Anthony, who just hit a 497-foot home run in AAA and can't get called up. But I still hate the Yankees. Corey C. writes, I'm headed to Maine, in the Portland area, for work next month. I've never been before, but I know you venture around Maine quite a bit looking at different shops. Which one would you recommend for a vintage collector? I hope I didn't get to this too late, Corey. I'm sorry. Dawn Sports Card Center will always be the answer. As long as they are open, Dawn Sports Card Center is the best. Tell Ron, the owner, I sent you. Not that you're going to get a good deal, but maybe. I'm hoping to get lunch with Ron this Thursday, and I'm going to start a series with him, or at least do a pilot kind of thing, where we talk about the day in the life of a card shop owner. And Dawn Sports Card Center is, in my opinion, by far the best in Maine. Then you also have Double Play Collectibles in Scarborough, which is pretty good. He's brand new. He's been there just over a year, maybe 18 months. It's a good shop. I just heard this weekend about a shop called Cash Corner Cards and Collectibles or something like that. I think Steve sent me them, or maybe it was John, I don't remember who. That's also in Portland. So it feels like it's getting a little busy in the Portland area, but I'm going to check them out. It looks pretty good. If I were you, I would check out all three of them, but start with Dawn's. And if you can only go to one, go to Dawn's. And I was actually asked this by several people in the last month, so I'm glad to answer it for Corey. Next question comes from Eric. He asks me, what else do I collect? I collect a bunch of sports-related things, mostly baseball, Red Sox yearbooks and programs. I collect the original NES black box games, the ones that I played as a kid, and some SNES, Super Nintendo games as well. I collect some tickets, not very many. I have a handful of them. I collect packs and wrappers, some autographed magazines. So there's a lot here, and I'm hoping to be able to display a lot of it in the very near future. I'm just thinking, did any of my cards get flipped over? No. Okay, good. Next up, Sam Hill, longtime amazing commenter. A lot of these guys are, but some of them, like Sam, comments on everything, and he's awesome. He says, can you give your recollection of the 2004 ALCS and maybe the 2004 season as a whole? This is the Red Sox, of course. Your emotions, where you were living, what stage of life you were in at the time, married, kids yet. Did you go to any games that year? So let's start here. 2004, I was 25 years old. I had my first child in March of that year. And I was working at a little company, massive company called MBNA in Rockland, Maine. I was living in Northport. We had bought a house a year before. We got married in 2003, bought a house in 2003 in Northport, a little house on Route 1 in Northport, Maine. And I would commute the 40-ish to 45 minutes to Rockland every day. And I would work 60 hours a week plus the commute, and I was exhausted. I had a kid, a baby, and it was a tough year. But I watched every single Red Sox game. I watched every Red Sox game for years and years and years. Except there was a stretch in the fall and in the summer where I was working late nights, and I wouldn't get home in time to watch the Red Sox. So I shouldn't say I watched every game, because that was the year that it kind of ended. But in 2004 fall, I was managing, there was a manager called Jim Carvonis. His name was Jim Carvonis. And I was managing his team for him when he was out for a while during the ALCS. And I was 25 years old. Why were they letting me manage team? I have no idea. But it was such a fun time. And there was another manager in the team next to ours who, she was a big Red Sox fan as well. And so we would watch, back then you could watch not the game itself, but just the play-by-play on ESPN.com, and you just, I don't remember if it auto-refreshed in 2004, if you had to just continuously refresh it. And so I was doing that at my desk every night during the games. And the night of Game 4, Red Sox down 3-0, Mariano Rivera comes in. I know I've told this story before, but it's one of my favorites. I was so fed up with this team. After 2003, the emotions, the pain of 2003, I was so fed up being down 3-0 to the Yankees. Mariano Rivera is coming into the game, and I was wrapping up. My team had all left. I finished up, and I remember saying to that next manager over as I left, she had another hour on her team. I said, say goodnight to the Red Sox season. I'll never forget it. And as I walked out, she yelled at me, never give up hope, Mike, never give up hope. And I just laughed. Come on. Go out to my car, and in Rockland, Maine, the drive from MBNA to McDonald's is like 5 minutes. And in that time, they got on base. Dave Roberts comes in, and he steals the base. And then he gets hit around to score. And I was like, holy smokes. By the time I got home, I don't remember actually if the game was over. It had to have been, right? I don't remember all the details of that inning. I should go back and watch it, but such a fun memory. I was so cynical about the Red Sox, and I did not go to any games that year. I don't think I did because we had a baby. We really never left home very much. I watched the rest of the ALCS with my wife. I remember those games were like 5 hours long. After that was the Game 4 was the only one I wasn't able to watch. And then the rest of them, I watched all of them at home on the couch with my wife in our living room. World Series, I watched all of those games with my wife. And then Sam continues, I think the actual World Series title is almost an afterthought. Yeah, that's 100% true. It felt like the Yankees series was the World Series. And it almost feels like, not quite, but it almost feels like if they had lost the World Series, it would have been okay because they beat the Yankees after being down 3-0. 2004 ALCS was the best series of all time. Sam thinks, I agree. Yep. Douglas asks, is there a way that we could get all three companies, Topps, Fanatics, and Panini, and actually, I forgot Upper Deck, is there a way to get a petition going to make all breakers apply for a license from these companies? That they only buy from these companies as well as Penny Sleeves Company as well to break using all these products. I'm just kind of wondering if this would hopefully cut the cost of all sports cards. I believe Topps, Fanatics, Topps and Fanatics are the same company. I believe that breakers get vetted. That's how they get allocation. So that's already happening. I don't know about Upper Deck, and I'm not sure what you mean about the Penny Sleeves Company. So you want them to only buy from the Penny Sleever, which is a great idea. The Penny Sleever, 10% off your first order using my code JWH2025. Thank you, Douglas, for getting that in for me. Yeah, I don't think you're going to cut the cost of sports cards through anything like this. I think you're going to cut the cost of sports cards when demand goes down. And demand is only going to go down maybe when the economy goes down. But I think about this sometimes. If the economy goes down, if we see a decline or a recession, I hope not. I really hope we don't. Will sports cards, brand new modern sports cards, ultra modern, actually go up? Because people will have that, it'll be that hope for them, that gamble. I can, if I remember correctly, Powerball tickets sell more during a recession. Just a thought. I don't know. Mike H. asks, you mentioned playing basketball back in your younger days. Just wondering how tall you are. I am 6'2". I never knew how tall I was until I stopped playing basketball after college and joined the workforce, and I was the tallest person around. And it's kind of weird because I was always one of the shorter people on a basketball court, and I always hung around with basketball players. And I was one of the shortest because there were, that's basketball. And 6'2", I was a shooting guard. And, I go out into the workplace and I look around, and now I get to a point now where I only notice somebody's height when they are as tall as me or taller, because it's so unusual. When I was in New York City, I was walking down the streets and I could look over everybody and see everything because I was so tall. It's only 6'2". I never knew that was really tall until I was an adult. Lori asks, Lori is an old coworker of mine who discovered my channel just searching through sports card YouTube, which I think is really cool. A total elementary question for you. I'm still, after all these years of collecting, in the I don't trust sending my cards, vintage photos, or anything to be graded. I also lean toward grading takes some of the purity of trading cards away. I just don't trust the process or the subjectivity of grading process. My question for you is, can you see a path to the grading cult imploding and some of the nostalgia and purity of the hobby returning? Yeah, I can. I can see that. And I really think, especially in vintage, we are seeing a revolution right now. And we're talking about it. I talk about it. Mangini talks about it. Greg of Midlife talks about it. All these guys and more. I'm not going to name everybody who talks about it because then I'm going to forget somebody. We talk about eye appeal and how the gray doesn't matter. And I've been collecting 1s and 1.5s and authentics because I don't care about the grade. I just want to make sure the card is authentic. And that's becoming more and more prevalent. And now Maddie C Collection on Instagram is rolling out something called Eye Appeal Inc. I asked him about it. He's going to send me the non-disclosure agreement, and I'm going to have him on some point in the near future. He's rolling it out in July. I think it's going to be part of the revolution, changing the way we look at needing to have PSA 7s in our collection. Or, you look at a PSA 7 and a PSA 1.5 looks better. Because on the back of the 1.5, maybe there's a tiny little something you can't even see, or there's a minute crease that is only visible through a microscope. I don't know. But we are in the middle of a grading revolution, or a collecting revolution as it pertains to cards. Greg talked about some cards that are going for 2x their comps just because they look amazing in that grade. And I'm excited for it. G. Wayne B asks, please help settle a debate raging in our household. One of us says The Wizard of Oz is the better movie, and the other says Grease is the better movie. We both argue one or the other is the greatest movie ever. And I immediately had a thought. And I had to ask, what is your favorite? And he said The Wizard of Oz. And I agree. Wizard of Oz, for me, is better. But is it nostalgia? And I ask this all the time. Is it just nostalgia that drives that opinion? And I don't know. I did not watch Grease until I was 18 years old. 1997. I was going to a New Year's Eve disco party. And I didn't know very much disco. So I watched Grease, and I bought the greatest disco songs of all time, CDs. It was like a 3 CD set. And I played and played, and I memorized every single song. I am a driven person for pointless endeavors. And that was a pointless endeavor. And it was a blast. I went to that party, and I knew every single song that played, and it was a fantastic time. And some of those songs are from Grease, and I love those songs. Do I love those songs because that party is what drove me to listen to them and watch the movie, and it's such a great memory? I don't know. But I think The Wizard of Oz is better. I'm going to stick with that. Let me know what you think about any of these. Next up is Brian M. asked, I watched your video on Jeff Wilson rant on hits and flipping, and you wanted us to ask you a question. So my question is, what is a good app to use when I go to card shows to check card prices? I've tried Ludex, and it is okay, but wanted to know of something that finds vintage cards mainly. This is a tough one because I've used a lot of different apps, and none of them are great. I mostly use eBay. And the problem with eBay is if it's a best offer accepted, you can't trust it. So you have to go to 130 Point. 130 Point, I don't believe has an app, which makes it inferior in my view, even though it has superior data. It also only has eBay data. So if you're looking at something that is low pop, that makes it difficult. If you're looking for something more expensive, low pop, you probably want to use Card Ladder or something like that. I don't know because I don't generally have those problems. I'm not usually shopping for expensive cards. But those are my suggestions. 130 Point and eBay for the most part. Brandon R. asks, I collect and read old Becket magazines from the late 80s, early 90s. If you're seeking a topic to discuss for a future segment, I suggest talking about how problematic it was for Becket to accept ad revenue from card companies in its magazines. For example, Becket, with Bo Jackson on the cover, this is Becket Football, had no ads other than one for some VHS tapes and a few for subscribe to this magazine. Then in 1995, nearly every other page there's an ad for Upper Deck, Collector's Edge, Classic, Fleer, etc. Looking back, though they did address the issue sparsely within some of their readers' rights sections, it's hard to argue that those ads didn't play a role in the overvaluation of so many products priced out in its magazines, especially when you look at the value of many of those cards now. Thanks for your time. I think this is such a fantastic question and a great topic that I'm not going to do a service to. I think if you are a price guide, you are at risk of inflating those. Now, did Becket do that? I don't know. I would say no, because the market, they were largely basing their prices off of the existing market and the way players were playing. It's a tough one, and I don't know enough about this topic. I've given it a lot of thought, and I feel like I'm doing this question a disservice, and it might require a future video. But did Becket know that things were produced to the moon at that time? And if so, were they reporting current values, or were they reporting future values? And I believe they were reporting current values. That's all they could do. They couldn't say this card is going to be worth $20 in 10 years. They were simply saying this card is worth $20 right now. And I think that we are looking for a conspiracy or a scandal from 35 years ago that probably wasn't there and probably doesn't really matter all that much anymore. And it's a great topic, and I'm glad Brandon asked this. I just don't know that I have a great answer. And I'm curious for your thoughts on this. And you can put them in comments, you can email me. I am very interested in that. Next up, Crap Game 58 asked, you said a while back you like horror movies, so have you ever seen April Fool's Day from 1986? It's pretty good, just a little different. Amy Steele is in it from Friday the 13th. I have actually not seen that. I don't love the older horror, and there are some of them that are fantastic. I might go back and watch April Fool's Day, but generally speaking, I like horror movies from the 90s forward. I feel like the 80s movie making wasn't great, and it took a huge leap forward in the 1990s. But I have not seen April Fool's Day. Coopstain 1728 asks, why in the world are prospects who haven't done anything more expensive than guys who are top 10 players? It makes 0 sense. Someone explain it to me. Oh, but this prospect has the potential to be great. Yeah, but we all know he won't be as good as X, who's already in the Hall of Fame or is about to be. We all know it's true, so why are their cards stupid expensive? Yeah, stupid is the perfect word for it. The example I cited on Sunday's video was Jack Caglione, number to 150 or 199, being almost double the price, or going for that amount, over a rookie Freddie Freeman. Same number, same scarcity. And it's crazy. It's stupid, but I think it's two things. First of all, it's gambling. And I have a video coming up where I talk about all the ways gambling is intertwined in the hobby. It is a lot. It's gambling. You're saying, I bet this player will be worth a lot more in X number of months or years. Secondarily, it is the quick flip. For most of these guys who are buying those cards, they think I can buy this at $2,400 and flip it for $2,800 in a week or a month. Or When he has a hot streak, I'm going to sell it. Most of the people who are buying these are not buying them as long-term investments. In my opinion, I believe John Mangini calls it the hot potato market. It's whoever gets stuck with it when they go on a cold streak or they get injured has the hot potato and they lose. That's why those cards go for so much. For sales, eBay. If you go in person to one game or event in any sport or history, in any sport in history, what would you choose? So my first thought goes to like the 1999 All-Star Game. Pedro Martinez struck out, I believe, 5 out of the top 6 National League players in Fenway Park. That would be amazing. And Mark McGwire hitting all those batting practice home runs. But I'd love to be at like Jackie Robinson's first game and see what it was really like and be there in person for it. The Babe Ruth called shot game would be awesome just to see. Did he really call his shot? How obvious was it? Things like that, historical games, that something big happened, something exciting happened. I'd love to be at the first Patriots World Series win. Yeah, we all remember that big World Series win that NFL teams have every year. Man, I am losing my mind. The 2004 ALCS Game 7 or Game 4, but Game 7 mostly. Those would be exciting. Things that I would love to do that have had a big impact on my life that I wasn't able to be at. Like I was at the Derek Lowe no-hitter, which was a spectacular event to get to. Last question. Brian W. asks, after seeing that Cooper Flag smudge auto, and this is not from the Ask Me Anything, but I thought it was such a great question, I'm throwing it in. After seeing that Cooper Flag smudge auto, wouldn't it be cool if an athlete signed with their thumbprint? It would be amazing if they were given an ink thing and just went, boop, put it down, and the Panini could call it Thumbprints, or Topps Fanatics could call it Thumbprints. The problem with this is that PSA would need to have access to their thumbprints to make sure it's them, or Topps would need to actually witness. Nobody would be able to tell if it's truly Frank Gore Jr.'s thumbprint, for instance. And that would be the difficulty of it. So I don't think this is going to happen, even though I think it's a super fun idea. So that's all I've got for today, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all very soon.